Ellen.
Okay, can everybody hear me now? Okay, good, good, good. You did mute me. Okay. I thought when I made you co-host, you promised there'd be no practical jokes. Okay, anyway, so what I like to do is one of my passions is writing limericks. So I would like to start off with the limerick, which would be appropriate to the topic we're discussing. So here we go. If kosher is your desire, you're moving up, reaching much higher. The kitchen is where you begin, and it's there to do more. You will be inspired. So that being said, I want to also make a disclaimer. I am a mashgiach. A mashgiach is a kosher supervisor, as I call myself, a kosher cop. However, I'm not a rabbi. Rabbis get their smicha, their ordination. They take tests on all types of topics, one of which are the laws of kashrut. I'm fluent in them, I practice them, but I am not a rabbi. So the purpose of this class is to teach and to inform. I don't expect anybody to make any resolutions or decisions based on what you hear, but anything that you decide that you want to go ahead and do, go ahead and consult the rabbi. Okay. Anyhow, as Ellen has said previously, becoming kosher or koshering your kitchen is a monumental event. It's very, very, very significant. Actually, it's up there with deciding to become Shomer Shabbat. And the reason I say this is because honoring the Sabbath, eating kosher, these are both commandments from God, mitzvahs. The word mitzvah is translated as, some people call it a good deed. Some people say that it's a commandment. True. But you really, for the real meaning of a Hebrew word, you need to look closely at what's called the shoresh, which is the root of the word. The root of the word mitzvah is tzav, T-Z-A-V. The word tzav means connect. So by doing a mitzvah, by doing one of God's commandments, you are connecting with your creator, which is why it's so important that, that kashrus is such an important thing in Judaism. It's a connection. Let me tell you a little story to further explain how this works. I don't like to tell personal stories, but this is very appropriate. I always haven't been wearing the yarmulke and always haven't had the beard and tzitzis. In 1995, that's right around when Elena and I decided that we were going to have a kosher home. So we went and got a rabbi to, kosher the kitchen and everything. But my mindset was a little different then. I figured, well, our home is kosher, but I used to like to go to Dunkin' Donuts and get their donuts sometimes on the way back from going to synagogue. I figured, well, hey, they're donuts. It's water, it's flour, it's sugar. It's chocolate, sprinkles, custard fillings, I mean, what's unkosher about that? I can, eat donuts. And so I did. And then we went over to my mother-in-law's house, and we decided that we were going to order in from a Chinese restaurant. Not a kosher Chinese restaurant, but a Chinese restaurant. But I was going to eat everything that was vegetarian. So, what's the big deal? So we ordered, tofu, some tofu dish and some stir-fried vegetable dish. And they had vegetarian egg roll. So, I like egg rolls. So we ordered a vegetarian egg roll. So we're eating the food, and I don't eat egg rolls by putting them in a plate and cutting them with a knife and a fork. I pick them up and I eat them in my hand. So anyway, so he's eating the egg roll, and boy, was it delicious. Best vegetarian egg roll I ever tasted. And so I put it down on the plate, and he had the other stuff, and I picked it up again. As I picked it up, I took a look, and I was very surprised to see that the reason it was so good was that because there were pieces of shellfish, and also there was some pork in there. Well, immediately I lost my appetite. Not only did I lose my appetite, but for the next 2 days, I was depressed. I don't get depressed. That's not part of my personality, but I was depressed. And I was trying to figure out why, what's causing this. And then it became very clear to me. It was a disconnection. We had gone out of our way to make our home kosher, and we connected. I connected, my wife connected. But then when I went and ordered the egg roll, and by mistake, there was trafe in it, that created a disconnection. So what I'm saying here is that the kashrut is very, very important, and it helps us doing that to have the connection with our creator. We'll get more into that later. So let's start out now with the concept of kashering your kitchen. It actually begins 24 hours. And by the way, I suggest that you have a rabbi do it, or even a mashgiach do it, who know what they're doing. You could do it yourself, but it could be a little difficult. First thing you need to do, it starts 24 hours before the actual kashrut. You need to do a complete cleaning of everything that you want to be kashered. So you take your silverware, you take your serving utensils and clean them and make sure there's nothing on them, no food that is collected to them, that is stuck to them, pots and pans. Do the same thing with your oven, with your microwave. Give it a very thorough cleaning, so when the rabbi comes in, he doesn't have to be cleaning your kitchen. They charge by the hour. And believe me, I don't know any rabbis who like cleaning kitchens. But my wife will tell you that I do help in the kitchen, cleaning up on occasion. So that's the first thing you're going to do. 24 hours before you start, get that kitchen nice and clean, so it make the job easy for the person who's doing it. Next thing you do is you take an inventory of what it is that you want to be made kosher, which usually is going to be everything that you have in your kitchen that you want to use, any eating utensils, serving utensils, plates, glasses, everything that comes in contact with food, trays, all that needs to be kashered. And we'll get into what cannot be kashered, but take that inventory and take all of the things out that you want the rabbi to kasher. The basic rule of kashering is kavolo kach polto, which means as it is absorbed, so is it purged. There's two ways that we kasher utensils and all the things that we use to eat. One is with water, the other is with fire. Most of what we're taught in kashering through water is called hagala, H-A-G-A-L-A-H, hagala. It sounds like halava, but it's not. Halava is good and covered with chocolate, is even more delicious, but let's go off on a tangent now. Hagala is kashering the utensils in water. Libun is through fire. Fire can be done in one of two ways. It can be done just by putting fire onto the whatever it is. Usually it's silverware is not done with that, nor our dishes, nor our glasses, but pots and pans, and maybe pots especially. And the other way is with a blowtorch. I don't know a lot of people who have blowtorches at their house, but the rabbi always does the kashering, always will have a blowtorch there. So let's start in the kitchen. Let's start with your appliances. Stoves, self-cleaning oven, very, very simple, not difficult at all. A self-cleaning oven, all you have to do is, like I say, first you've got to clean it out. You got the cursory cleaning, but then after you clean it, you put it on, if it's a self-cleaning oven, you put it on a self-cleaning cycle and let it go, and you've got a kosher stove. The racks, the grates need to be taken out before you do that, cleaned thoroughly, as I said, and then you put it back in there when you do the self-cleaning, and you've got a kosher stove, kosher oven. With the electric or the gas stoves ovens, it's not that simple. What you need to do is, after you clean it, you need to put on some of these chemicals that they use for cleaning stoves, and follow the instructions, and leave it on for how long they say. Then after you do that and clean that out, then what you do is you turn it up to broil, and do that for maybe 5-10 minutes, and you've got yourself a kosher stove. Sometimes you're going to have a stove with a built-in grill. The grill is usually done with a blowtorch, because when you're, as you know, when you're when you're pan frying things, sometimes food has a tendency to stick. And so the best thing to do that is, to use the blowtorch. The range top, fairly simple. If it's an oven, top that's gas or electric, doesn't matter. Turn it up on high and wait till it gets red hot. It has to be red hot. Then once it's red hot, you're okay. You've got a kosher top. Glass tops can present a problem. The glass tops themselves, where the burners are, can be heated red, but the adjacent areas, sometimes depending on what kind of stove it is, can cause a problem. It can cause it to break. So what I suggest you do, if you do have a glass top stove, contact your local rabbi, have he or she come out and take a look at it, and they could probably, for that, tell you, what it is that you need to do. So the last appliance that we have, microwaves. Microwave is fairly simple, although it can be problematical. The usual microwave is very simple. And by the way, the plate in the microwave is made out of Pyrex. Pyrex cannot be kashered. It's the type of, it's not glass. It's a type of a material that is absorbent. It absorbs a lot of stuff. It cannot be kashered. What you can do, though, is if you can't find another plate, you can cover it up with whatever you want. I mean, the microwave is not going to burn it up, but microwaves are not that expensive these days, so it's probably better off to get a new one if that's a problem. The way that the inside is kashered is that you take a cup of water and you put the microwave on high for about 15 minutes, and the water will come to a boil, and the steam will basically loosen whatever schmutz is around the microwave, and you'll be able to have and then you go in there and you just clean it all off, and you're ready to go. You're ready to go. Dishwasher. The ORB in South Florida says dishwashers cannot be kashered. So that's where I hold. I've kashered many homes, and I tell them the bad news, and they say, can we go out and get new inserts? Well, it's not easy these days to get new inserts. And plus the inserts that you have, one of the reasons it can't be kashered, you got plastic on there, and the plastic is absorbent, and it also has got little areas that the plastic winds around the structure of the microwave, of the dishwasher, what you call where you put the dishes in. And it's very, very difficult to remove stuff. So that's why many places say you cannot kosher it. Koshering it is fairly simple. What you do is that you take bleach and you rub everything, clean everything, rub it down with bleach, and then you put bleach in the dishwasher and then run the cycle. After you run the cycle, it's going to take you 2 to 3, maybe more cycles to get rid of that bleach. And that's how you do that. The other thing is that the place that collects the food is the drain. And so your drain, you want to clean out thoroughly and make sure that there's nothing inside the dishwasher. And your best is to take off the drain when you're doing the 2 to 3 cycles of the dishwasher. So that covers basically everything in the kitchen. Let's talk about now things like the cutlery and things like the dishes and that. All of the cutlery, all of the serving pieces. Oh, by the way, anything can be koshered as long as it's glass or metal. Glass or metal. This comes directly from the Torah, and there will be a class coming up which is going to discuss the sources for all of these kosher laws that we're talking about. We'll find exactly where they come from. So the cutlery, the silverware, serving pieces, that's all done with boiling water. The only problem you could have, I've seen it sometimes with, sometimes knives have a wooden handle. The wooden handle cannot be koshered because where the connection is made between the knife itself and the handle, it's not completely tight. Little particles of food can get in there. And so that's why if it's a knife with a wooden handle, you cannot kosher it. However, wood can be koshered. What you need to do is that from the cutting, you're going to have crevices in the wood. All you need is to sandpaper that down, and then that makes it acceptable. Pots and pans. Pots are all put into the boiling water. Now, one of the important things is when you're koshering utensils that they be completely immersed. So to completely immerse a utensil, you can do one of 2 ways. You could just drop it in there and let the rabbi, or the rabbi can do it. And sometimes the rabbis have got these big, heavy gloves and they just reach their hands in there and they pick them out. Or what you can do is, if you're doing it yourself, you could take a fork, for example, and you should wear gloves anyway, dip the fork in, but the place where there's contact between the gloves and the fork that has not been koshered. So what you do is turn the fork around, hold it by its prongs, and then dip it in, and then you're fine. When we koshered our kitchen, the rabbi had these big, heavy gloves. I'll tell you a story how people, how one mitzvah leads to another, sometimes transfer from one person to the next. So when the rabbi first, he dropped everything in, I went to pick it up. Well, anyway, there was, he found out to his dismay that on top of the glove, there was a hole, and he dipped in and he started screaming because his hand burned. And so what it resulted in a big welt was on his hand, and somebody in synagogue saw it, go, "Rabbi, what happened?" And he told him what happened, and the person said, "My wife and I have been talking about koshering our kitchen. When can you do it?" So, by koshering our kitchen and burning off his hand, he was able to do another mitzvah, have somebody else do another mitzvah. Teflon cannot be kosher. So if you got a favorite Teflon pan or a Teflon pot, kiss it goodbye. Because Teflon is a type of material It's an artificial type of material. It's very absorbent, and it just cannot be kosher. Sink, simple. You throw boiling water in the sink. That's all you need to do. If there are areas in the sink that have may have been stained for some reason by having non-kosher food in there, you can take a blowtorch and just, be careful with that, and you make it kosher. Countertops, same thing with boiling water. But what you do with countertops, because countertops have got a lot of contact with foods. Usually the stuff in the sink, it's scraps. And countertops, contain, you place your food down on there a lot. So what you do is, after you pour the boiling water on it, you take an iron that's been heated to high and disconnect it, and then take that iron and just like skate over the water, and that'll create steam, and that will further cleanse the top. So that covers everything that needs to be kosher. In other words, stuff that was used for non-kosher food, now it's okay for kosher food. The other category is when you get something new that's used to serve food, to eat the food, to drink the food. And that is done in the following way. It's called tevilat kelim, which is immersion of the vessels. The vessels are the pots, the pans, even the knives and forks are considered vessels. And that's done very simply. That's done in a mikvah. That's the ideal place to go, but you can also do it in a body of water. It's a permanent body of water, a lake, an ocean. Rivers are not acceptable. Ponds are not acceptable because they can dry up. Years ago, when we first moved here, we lived in Palm Beach, and we used to try going to go into the ocean called tevilat kelim is immersion of vessels, but the verb is called to toivel. Sometimes the waves came and washed away your new pot, so that was not a good idea. So there was an area in the intercoastal, which is a continuous body of water, that you can kosher it there. A blessing is said before you kosher the utensils or utensil. If it's multiple, you say the plural. If it's that's one prayer is good for everything. If it's one item, you just say the prayer over the singular item. Only glass and metal can be kosher. Only glass and metal. There's a machlokes. Remember, machloket is question, or as my wife refers to it, the machlokist. There's a question whether or not plastic can be toiveled, can be immersed. And we're talking about new things, by the way. If you go out and buy new things, if the product is made by a Jewish company, it does not have to be immersed. It does not have to be toiveled. These are only products that you don't know the source. You don't know where they came from. Maybe you bought them at a store, but you don't know unless it tells you. I mean, there are companies that like make Kiddush cups. They're from Israel, so they do not have to be toiveled. Anything, though, that's manufactured by a Gentile company or has to be toiveled. Plastic, getting back to plastic, some people say you can't toivel it. Other people say you can. I mean, things like Teflon, which are used a lot. So what you do is you can put it in the mikvah or the body of water, but do not say a blessing on it. Because if you say a blessing on something, for example, if you say a blessing, say you're eating an apple, and by mistake you say the blessing for a vegetable. Well, what you do is go get a vegetable and eat the vegetable, because you just said a blessing over the vegetable. And if you don't eat a vegetable, if you say a blessing over something that you don't do, that's called a blessing in vain, which you don't want to do. So that's why we don't do it over plastic. Tupperware, same thing, not, it's a plastic, and so you don't have to say a blessing on it. So we talked about everything that can be kosher and how you kosher it. Let's talk about the things that cannot be kosher. Basically, two categories. I told you one with the wooden handle on knives. That's rare, but in general, china cannot be kosher. Ceramics cannot be kosher. Ceramic, many of your coffee cups are ceramic. Your cereal bowls are ceramics. They cannot be kosher because they are absorbent, very, very absorbent. Exceptions, though, you find Judaism, we try very hard to find a way to do something. There are exceptions, though, but that too depends on the rabbi. Don't go and find a rabbi who's going to do what you want. Just whoever is your rabbi, that's who you should go by. Or if you live in a certain area, Karina, I know you live in rural Pennsylvania. I don't know who's the kashrut agency there, but stick with one and do what they say. One of the exceptions that people make for china is that if it has not been used for a year, then after a year, you can immerse it in boiling water, the hagala, do that 3 times, and then that will be kosher. A ceramic cup or a ceramic bowl is much more difficult because you have got to, you see the way it says, the way it's, the way the product is made non-kosher, that's the way you have to make it kosher again. Ceramics were made in a kiln. You've got to find a kiln, and I understand kilns, the temperature can go up over 1,000 degrees. So you can't just do it by dipping it in hot water. You can't by doing it with a blowtorch. A blowtorch will ruin it anyway. And the so that's why you can't kosher it. I just got a good question here. What about soaking china for sentimental value? That happened with us. We had a set of china dishes that I believe belonged to my wife's grandmother. I'm not sure who it belonged to, but what the rabbi who we went to said, you can make an exception there, that you soak it for 3 days in a bathtub and you change the water every day. So like I say, that was from some, something that was not normal, and it's something that can be made an exception to. If ceramics are glazed, then that's okay. You can, if it's glazed, you can, it can be kosher. It can be kosher because the ceramic itself has been covered over, and so it's not so self-absorbent. So that concludes most of the topics for today. And I'm going to get to the questions in a minute, but now it's time for Did You Know? So we covered a lot of stuff, kosher law, this and that. We can cover something now that's not very well known. It's also a little bit different. So let's say, for example, it's Shabbos, and you've got you want to make coffee, your tea, and you've got your urn filled with hot water. So let's say that you've got a cup of coffee that you put, you want to refresh it, so you'd already put some milk in there, and it was a dairy cup. So you take that cup with the milk in there, and you go to the urn, and you turn the spigot, and out comes the hot water, and with the hot water, up comes the steam from the boiling water. Well, guess what? That steam hit the spigot, and now you've got a dairy urn. Now you've got a dairy urn. Same thing, let's say you got that dairy urn, and it's you're using it let's say you've got some chicken cons, whatever, powdered chicken, not powdered chicken mix, where you make chicken soup. And it's got the essence of chicken in there, which makes it a meat dish. And so you do the same thing. You turn the spigot, up comes the steam. Now you've got a fleishik. Now you've got a meat urn. Of course, this can be reversed the same way it was done, but you have to wait 24 hours. So anyway, I look now, we've got a few questions here. Let me see what we've got here. And anybody, let me see. Elena, can you unmute everyone so they can speak if they want? Okay, let's see. From Adam Shalloway, I saw that. Okay. Don't you need to cleave the seam 24 hours before you put the boiling water? Yes. I think I mentioned that earlier, that before you kosher, before the koshering process starts, 24 hours before you clean the seam thoroughly and don't use it. Okay, anyway. I'm asking everybody to unmute. So if you have any questions, please ask your questions.
I have a quick question, if that's okay.
Of course.
So you mentioned ways to kosher used appliances, from what I understand, like ovens and stove tops.
Yes.
I was wondering, is the process the same for new appliances, or I spoke to Adam about this earlier and he said they just need to be toveled, but I was wondering, is the process different for new and old?
No, yes. If it's an old, you're dealing with a new appliance has not been tainted. So if you get the new appliance, I mean, what you can do is like you can take the grates, the cook, what do you call them, the stove tops, and you can take those and treat them as if it was a plate or a silver, and take it then into the mikvah.
Okay.
But there is no, there is a difference. There is a difference. Good question, Karina.
It's a big difference. You don't have to really do anything with the new one.
No, you don't. But if you want to be machmir, which is strict,
the things that you separate, like a grate, that you could if you're being strict. But basically, it's or you could put a little boiling water in it. But basically, you don't have to do anything.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
And remember too that the things that require immersion, the vessel, are metal or glass. That's why we don't do that with that. Who's got a question there? Anybody?
Everything was pretty.
Phyllis, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, you had mentioned something about the plastic containers being kosher, or did I misunderstand?
No, plastic containers do not need, now this is something that you ask your local rabbi. Here,
Yeah, I've never done that, but that's why I'm asking you. I thought you said that it could.
no, like I say, it's up to your rabbi. It comes straight from, I mean, actually the section is, it's the war with the Midianites, and the Midian, they had, when we fought the Midianites, we took some loot, and some of that loot were, I guess, new, never used implements. If they're metal or glass, they have to be put into a mikvah. If they're plastic, they do not have to. Now, here in South Florida, they say, ORB says you do not. Where do you live, Phyllis?
I live in New Jersey.
Okay, so you've got,
I'm
Plenty-
very, I have to interrupt. I come from Rabbi Tights. I don't know if you know of him, in Elizabeth.
sure.
Okay,
No,
well,
Elizabeth. Yeah.
that's who I go under.
Okay, so you find out what their policy is. If they say that you can immerse it in a mikvah, it's done without a blessing. But once again, like I say, you check with them, see what their practice is, and do what they say.
Not to use them.
No. You can absolutely use them.
Use,
The question is, do you need to immerse them in a mikvah?
you're saying that old used containers I can kasha for Pesach.
Oh,
Or not.
plastic? No. I'm
Okay.
you get it. You have to ask your rabbi. But I mean, if you take plastic and you put it in boiling water, you're going to end up having
Right, okay.
nothing.
But
I mean, there are
that's
some
what-
different.
I misunderstood.
Separate.
There.
I just have new ones, that's all.
Yeah. Then you're fine.
Right.
Then you're fine. Anybody else?
Well, I have more of a comment than a question, but I like the idea about like the spinning the fork around. I haven't even thought of that. I was like, oh, you can put it down and pick it up with like something that's kosher already, suppose. Like I didn't think of that idea. I like you just kind of spin it around.
Well, I'll tell you, a couple of years ago, I was asked by one of the rabbis here to, they had just gotten, they were having a big Passover shindig, and they got all new materials, all new plastic, all those silverware, and they needed everything to go into the mikvah. Well, anyway, I found a mikvah that I could be able to spend hours there. I was actually in a Century Village in West Palm Beach.
Nice.
And one by one, because the mikvah I would be taking out, I had a basket and you immerse the basket in there. But the idea with the basket is the same concept of touching with your hands. If you put it in a basket, one part, some surface area of that utensil is going to be touching the basket. So you got to put it in and then like lift it up real quick, and then, so it floats and then it goes back there. So yes, that's the idea.
Nice.
So yesterday I asked you a question so as it doesn't get confused. So when you immerse the utensil in the mikvah, there has to be a point where it is totally, it can be a fraction of a moment, but it must be suspended.
Yes.
But when you heat it, like when you have to heat something in boiling water, it doesn't need that suspension. So you can take the area that you were holding it and change it and flip it over. See, there's a difference. And I didn't understand it till yesterday when Alan was preparing this talk. I thought both had to be suspended, the two styles of kasher. So, I mean, that.
As long as whatever is being immersed or being koshered, as long as at some point that every single square millimeter has been in the water, then you're okay. Then you're okay. So does anybody, any more questions? Does anybody want to share any really good recipes?
Alan, I have a question.
Yes.
I know this may vary from person to person and geographic area, but what would you say is the usual or customary fee that a rabbi, a mashgiach would charge per hour to kosher a kitchen?
I have a flat fee. I have a flat fee of $150, 150. However, that's in a normal kitchen. because sometimes, like I say, you're gonna go in there and they did all the cleaning and everything, and then you just, you know, it could take you 2-3 hours or say. They may charge $40-50 an hour. I like to work with a flat fee. Sometimes you're going to find that the kitchen needs to be clean. Let's say one time I went to do a kitchen and they had forgotten to self-clean the oven. Well, I said to them, you know what? I can come back tomorrow, but it was before Pesach. I said, we don't have time for this. You know, you're just not going to be able to use this oven. Simple like that. Or if I sit around and wait 5 hours, you know, but I would say, and some people may charge less. I mean, I had a kitchen I did for Passover. They had, it was a huge kitchen, lots of counter space, different types of ovens, 2 or 3 different types of ovens, a barbecue in the back. You know, I charged them 2-3 times what I would normally charge, but that's really, I would say that's a going rate. You'd have to, I'm giving you Florida prices right now. My guess is that in New Jersey it would probably be the same, maybe higher. I mean, you don't, well, your best bet is to go to your rabbi and say to him, I need my kitchen kashered. Who can you recommend and how much do you think they charge?
Thanks.
You're welcome.
The other question I have is about a counter. What I've been doing, because I have a Formica counter, is cleaning it as well as I can clean it, and then covering it and taping all of that down. Is that usually?
That's fine. A lot of people do it like that because they don't want to. I mean, Formica is going to hold up with the hot water, but still, I know a lot of. I mean, they do a good cleaning of it first, obviously, but yeah, what you say is fine. But once again, too, that's something that check with the rabbi, tell them what you're doing. I don't think they would disagree, but you know, they may say to you, no, you still need to apply the hot water. So. Anything else, anybody?
I don't believe you mentioned anything about the refrigerator.
Yeah, because refrigerators, you don't have to do anything with refrigerators. I mean, you clean them for Pesach, but you're not cooking anything. You're not preparing anything in the refrigerator. It's a good idea in the refrigerator to try to keep the dairy and the meat separate. I mean, for example, you can have, let's say you got a carton of milk and you put the carton of milk on the top shelf, all that springs a leak and it ends up in your cholent, you know, a little bit. Then you get into technicalities, like if you take, there's the 1/60th concept. If you've got a pot of cholent and you put a drop of milk in it, doesn't matter because if it's 1/60th of it, then it's not, you know, it's not worried. But if you like pour a whole carton of milk in your cholent, yeah, it's no good. But refrigerators, other than Passover, you really don't have to do anything with them. But the best thing is to try to keep the dairy and the meat separate from each other.
Okay.
Very good
Okay,
question.
for Passover, do you line the shelves?
Oh yeah. I mean, you give it a real good cleaning. You line the shelves. What we do is we use aluminum foil and cover it, and so that's the best way to do that. And then of course too, you've got see with, you know, I told you the 1/60th rule. With chametz, no such thing. You can't have any chametz at all. So cleaning the refrigerator is good because you got to go that little plastic area. You got to go over that real well and get rid of everything there. So we got some good questions. Small crowd, but great questions. I'm glad I knew the answers to some of them. Okay, are we, anything else? Okay, so anyway, next week, there will not be a class because it's Memorial Day. And the following week, I will be sending out to everybody notices as I've done before. And thank you all for coming back, especially our returnees here. I mean, Catherine, you were here last time, right?
No, I got my time zone wrong. Sorry.
Oh, but no. I remember your
But I
email.
did- Yeah,
Phyllis-
I watched the recording.
Yeah, Phyllis was here and Ellen was here. Anyway, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your enemies, tell whoever you want. I don't care. It doesn't cost anything. And anyway, thank you very much for coming. And I hope in 2 weeks to see you all again.
Thank you.
And
thank you.
anybody who has not, Karina, if you want to be notified, what you could do is you could send me, and I'll wait a little bit, on the chat. If you want to send it directly to me, send me your email so I can contact you directly. I think everybody else, I have their emails. Ellen, I see you every day. I can tell you personally.
Thank you.
All right. Anyway, be well, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
Thank
thank you again for coming.
Thank you.
Karina,
Thank
I'll
you.
wait. If you want to send me your
Yes.
email, Karina, I'll send you. Oh, I got it right there.
Perfect.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks for coming. Bye.
Thank
you very
you,
much.
everyone.
Hi.
Bye.
Bye-bye.